who all joins us here. This is getting started, and
we'll do it live.
We'll do it live. How many people do you think have gone on YouTube and said, "We'll do it live"?
All of them.
I feel like every one of them, right?
Yeah. Can you hear me? I'm back this way.
Oh, I should mute our YouTube before this gets going.
Mute a what?
There we go. All right.
Okay.
Now it's professional. Ryan Smith is here. Thank you.
Hey, Ryan Smith.
And too many shows have been missed so far this year. All right. It's 9 a.m., Dave. You know what that means.
Well, it's 11 a.m. over here.
It's 11 a.m. over there. It's 10 a.m. in the Midwest.
You're awake is, well, if you have a kid, of course, you get up at like 6:30, like all of us have kids. So, you know. Anyway, hey, folks. I'm David Goldstein.
I am Brian Brinkman.
You're tuned into a very special live episode of Beyond the Pond. This is our second live episode. This is the first time we've done an episode live this early, but that's okay because all y'all are doing some brunch. I know I might be having brunch a little bit when we start following the concert. Not eating right now, but anyway, this is the podcast in which Brian and myself utilize the music of Phish as a means of introducing the listener to other bands. These are usually not jam bands because we love Phish. We especially love Phish during a pandemic with the quarantine. They've been helping me out immensely. We are Phish fans, but there's a lot of other music out there. Sometimes Phish fans get a bit myopic, and that's why we started this podcast way back in April of 2017 to get you to listen to music other than Phish. Ain't that right?
That is right. And we are here once again, very excited to be hanging with you guys here on this lovely Sunday morning, whatever time it may be for you all. Got Ryan, Scotty, Sam, all good friends of the pod hanging out with us. Justin Bruce is hanging out. I think he's on the trails right now, but we are very, very excited to be hanging with you guys this morning, chatting with you about a fantastic set of Phish, as well as some great Sunday morning records and some new records that are really just kind of seeping into our headspace and keeping us sane and happy through this period in time.
Happy is a relative term. I'll settle for sane.
It's a fair point. I will say the record I'm going to feature made me very happy yesterday, and it was like a momentary hour of bliss. But
Okay.
I certainly understand where you're coming from here. Between juggling jobs, kids, and the growing pandemic, it's a lot out there. But I'm happy to be hanging with you here right now, Dave. I've got my Hamad drive-in jam mug, my favorite coffee mug, hanging with me. So like the spirit and energy of 2 a.m. improvisational Phish is flowing through me. And for those of you who hung with us last week or joining us here for the first time with our live stream, I wanted to kind of go over what we're going to be talking about here today. So we're going to do a quick overview of the July 17th, 1998 show that Phish played from the Gorge in George Washington 22 years ago. We're going to kind of talk about the larger themes, the ideas around the show, kind of what was going on with Phish at that point in time. And then we're going to jump into essential Sunday morning albums, as well as our new album recommendations, new records that we would recommend you guys be checking out. And I can tell you there are some excellent new records continuing to drop even amidst all the insanity of our time, and we're going to feature as many of those as we can as this goes on. Finally, if you guys got any questions, if there's anything you want to throw at us, please feel free, throw it in the chat as you guys are watching this. We'll be happy to either take a pause through the episode or do it at the end of the show. Just do a quick BTP Q&A. You know, if you want to find out why we find the Meat Stick such an incessant song, aside from a few versions, or why the War on Drugs are potentially the greatest band that has ever existed on the face of the planet, we're happy to answer those questions right now. But for now, I'm going to go ahead. Oh, one last thing. I posted this on Twitter. I'll post it again here in the comments before we jump over. But we're going to do the same thing we did last week. We're going to watch 7/17/98, do a live tweet of it. If you guys want to join us, all the better. It's a lot of fun to hang out with you guys while we're doing that. I'll post that link before we jump over. But Dave, what do we got as themes here today?
Sunday morning and fish vistas and fluid sets and fluid albums. And this is normally the part of the podcast where I'd say, let's get to the fish, and then we play a clip of a jam we're going to talk about. But we're just talking about a whole set, but let's do the 2001.
Happening in my head.
Right.
All right. So why are we talking about July 17th, 1998? It's a really good question. We have answers. So this was the third night of the 1998 summer tour, the second night of that run at the Gorge. Fish's fourth overall show played at the Gorge. Of note, I will say, night one of this run, 7/16/98, is one of my favorite all-time barbecue sets. You got this perfect coil, NICU, Reba into Fast Enough for You, and it's a true segue into Fast Enough for You, all in the first quarter. And a second set that, while on paper doesn't look like it flows at all, it actually, like, you press play at the start of it and it just goes. There's a really great tube, there's a really great slave. It's just a really lovely kind of laid back summertime set at the Gorge that I highly, highly recommend. That said, night two is the showcase of this overall run, and night two has nary a wasted moment. How about that?
Yeah, I mean, night two, it opens up with Macasup Policeman, which is always cool. And then I think there's like 12 and 13-minute versions of Yamar and Gumbo right after that.
Mm-hmm.
So it goes Macasupa, Long Yamar, Long Gumbo, then Divided Sky. And imagine you're just like sitting on the lawn at the Gorge, looking up, sun is starting to set, and they play Divided Sky. You just think, God damn, it feels good to be alive.
Yeah, that song was tailor-made for the Gorge. I haven't really seen a version of Divided Sky that I don't want to see, just because it seems to fit the mood and bring an air of significance to whatever show you're currently at. But man, when you see that at the Gorge, it's just like the scenery is endless. You're just in such a blissful state. You've been camping, hanging out. It's like a faux festival feel in the middle of nowhere. It's unbelievable.
And Divided Sky is one of those songs, maybe this is kind of a hot take. Usually when I'm listening at home, I might skip it. But if I'm at the show, I never am sad when it comes up. You know?
I don't, but
okay.
I understand.
Like I said, hot take.
Yeah, it's one of those. It might be their only compositional jammer that I just will not skip. But that was the song I fell in love with Fish over. So I hear you, but I don't hear you at the same time. You know what I mean?
Okay.
So set two. Well, I will say really quickly. I mean, the end of the first quarter, or the end of the first set, it's really great for like going and grabbing a beer, getting yourself settled before set break, because set two is essentially 50, 60 minutes of perfection. It opens up with a 24-minute 2001. And this is a 2001. There's some that like come out a little bit hot out the gates. They come out aggressive. This is in no hurry. This is just like sauntering through the park with a croissant in hand.
Yeah, this is a hazy, lazy 2001. It never catches fire, but it doesn't have to.
Right.
Because it's just so well done, well thought out, and it's a laid-back vibe, and it doesn't really feel like 24 minutes. You check your watch, and you say, holy shit, 24 minutes just went by.
Right.
But it's lazy in the best sense.
Yeah, and I mean, I feel like this song, really started to grow into its own in fall 96. 1997 sees some really great versions. We're going to talk about one of them here a little bit later. But I feel like by summer 98, the song, like the theme 2001, and the overall style the band was playing in just married in a way that there's still great versions in 99 and 2000. We actually featured version from Memphis '99 back in like episode 38 or something.
Right.
But this like airiness, the breeziness, the kind of proto funk, but also the emerging minimalism, ambient spaciousness of Summer '98, it all just like fits together. And this is just, it's not my favorite. I don't think it's the best version of 2001, but it really fits the overall theme of the song so well.
And then after that, you get an 18-minute Mike song, which is kind of played at a slower tempo, somewhat like I like to call it Grateful Dead June '76 tempo. And the first jam was a little repetitious, a little heavy, doesn't really get going, but then the second jam, it's just gorgeous and lilting and melodic, and that's kind of brings back the lazy, hazy feel of that 2001. Before it segues into Weekapog, and it's not quite as fluid as the one we previously discussed, being December 1st, 1995.
Yeah.
But it still works all the same. It's really, you don't need to have any song in between because the Mike's second jam is kind of like a second song.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, I think this is their first time since those two December '95 versions that have just a direct mics and a Weekapog. So it's kind of a callback to that era in a really fun way, but it's also very fitting of the sound at the time. Like you were saying, the finale of the Mike song Jam is just airy, it's breezy, it sounds like something out of the Island Tour. And then you move into Weekapog, that's kind of like your archetypical Summer '98 jam. It's got this like fluid funk, bass solo, start stop jam, speeds up. It's kind of unfinished. It's really wild. I love it.
Yeah, towards the end, they like remind everyone that it's summer 1998. So there's wah pedal, there's bass start and stop. And then they don't finish it. They go into character zero, but I think half the band didn't get the memo. That might have been Trey just saying, fuck it, let's play zero. And everyone kind of like, oh, okay. And they kind of stop, but you don't get the final vocals. But
yeah, I mean, I feel like 55 minutes into the set here, it's kind of one of those like decision-making times. I feel like if this set were played in 3.0, it would kind of almost remind me of like Camden Night 3 from last summer, where you're going to just get 5 or 6 songs kind of tacked on. At this point in Fish's career, they were kind of about, if we made our statement, we're going to wrap things up and we're going to walk away. It'll be a 4-song, 5-song second set. We're going to talk about that here in a second here. But I feel like this character zero almost snaps you back into reality, gives you like that fist pump, arms up in the air, celebration of what just happened, and allows people to like begin that re-emergence back into reality after nearly an hour of space jamming.
Right. And you got Encore, Punch in the Eye, Rocky Top, atypical pairing. That's cool. No one's going to complain about hearing a punch and a Rocky Top in the Encore. So
yeah, I love encores that kind of surprise me. Like, I don't want you just to come out and just grind Julius, whatever, Monkey, Tweezer, like I love when the band comes out for an encore and they play a song and you're just kind of like, I didn't expect that in the spot. And Punch in the Eye is one of those songs that you're never really going to expect in the encore slot. It's been played a few times. Speaking of Camden, I think it was played at that show.
It was.
It was encored at that show. But it's a nice feel here. Of note, I just want to quickly point out before we jump into our next segment, we're actually recording an episode here this week that's another Summer '98 jam. So we're going to cover the tour in full with a little bit more depth in an upcoming episode. We also covered part of Summer '98 in episode 3 when we talked about the Riverport Gin, as well as episode 5 when we talked about Alpine '98 tweezers. So we've done about Summer '98.
That's episode 5?
That was episode 5. That was our dad rock episode. It was a fun episode. I guess everything else since then has been dad rock too. But I just want to say that this set or this show overall, to me, feels like the perfect middle ground between 1997 and 1999 schools. It's both loose and exploratory. It grooves with intentionality while being light and spacious at the same time. A year prior, this would be rough around the edges, and a year later, it'd be persistent and determined. For now, they bob and weave in and out of these soundscapes and grooves, colored by arguably, I would say, I would defend this, the best tone that Trey has ever played with. That Summer 98 Trey tone, there's nothing like it. I love it so much.
Yeah, it's certainly better than his April 2004 Las Vegas Trey tone.
A little dirty.
A little dirty.
A little grimy.
A little grimy. Grimy is the watchword in that case.
Yeah. All right, so we want to jump in right now to kind of our first theme off of this show. So it's Sunday morning here. We're hanging out with all you guys. Thank you so much for everyone who has abandoned their children or foregone watching the Sunday morning news shows. We are here to deliver the essential information to you as best we can. We are here as a wonderful distraction from the insanity of your homes, as you've all probably been there now for 15 days. And we want to talk with you guys because at some point we're going to get off the air here, and you guys are going to have the rest of your Sunday to yourself. And we want to give you guys some recommendations for Sunday morning fish shows. This is a very particular type of fish show, if I will. For me, on a Sunday morning, if I'm going to listen to fish, I want something that's less intense than a headphones or an evening type show. I want something ultimately that I can throw on in the background and check in with. This is not time for 11/17/97 or 12/14/95 or 8/31/2012. This is the time for what I would say are the following shows. March 20th, 1992, Bigginton. Love some 92 energy on a Sunday morning. 6/16/95, one of my favorite first sets of that tour. Jim is one of my favorite jams of all time and just can be spacey in the background. It's really nice. August 13th, 96, which I believe is Live Fish number 12, which is like a perfect summertime Deer Creek set.
Divided Sky Opener.
Divided Sky Opener. Great Mike song as well. Really good Bowie. August 9th, 1997, from Alpine Valley, a show that we discussed potentially featuring here in this slot, but the second set.
Almost. We came close, but it didn't have video. We wanted video.
Exactly. The second set has a great Sunday morning groove to it. August 1st, 98, maybe my all-time favorite Sunday morning fish show. The tweezer in that show is unbelievable. From this same tour, August 3rd, 1998, from Deer Creek, Amazing Haley's.
Rhinoceros Smashing Pumpkins opener.
Yes, one of my favorite moments. And then jumping into 3.0 with just a couple of shows here. August 7th, 09 from The Gorge, one of my favorite shows of the entire era. May 28th, 2011 from Bethel. That show is just perfect to my ears. 10/25/13 from Worcester. I would argue the 30th anniversary show of 2013 of that year. And then July 22nd, 2015, the second night of summer 2015, a show that has been, for whatever reason, overlooked. But you've got the debut of Mercury in that show. You've got a really fluid second set, a great simple jam, and a bathtub gin encore. Speaking of atypical encores.
Yeah, Bend Night 2.
Ben Night 2, I love that.
Right. Ben Night 1 was Blazon debut.
And No Man coming out of Weekapaw.
Right.
I don't know. It's that was a great run that was overshadowed by a few things, namely the fact that the shows started at like 4:00 in the afternoon because of curfews, and
it was the second show of the tour, so there's the disbelief that fish ain't that great the first two shows of the tour. Those are good tour.
Right, yeah, exactly.
That was your summer 2015 coming off Fare Thee Well oiled, all around awesome.
Pretty.
So what do I have for some Sunday morning fish shows? I'm going to stick to 3.0. I've got October 26, 2013. That was the second night of the Worcester run, mostly for the second set, which has the Drown, which goes into the Sitting in Limbo jam based off the Jimmy Cliff Sitting in Limbo song. Very pleasant, excellent set. There's also like a Mike's and No Quarter in that set. The next night, October 27, 2013, from Hartford, Connecticut, mostly for that second set tweezer, which I call the helping dog tweezer. We could all use a personal helping dog right about now. I recommend that tweezer highly to calm the pulse of everybody. August 9th, 2015 from Alpine Valley, mostly the second set with the Franklin's tweezer, as they call it, a tweezer which kind of has like the languid Franklin's Tower, dead 76 speed jam.
Yeah.
And then night 3 of the Baker's Dozen, July 23rd, 2017. Our buddy Sam Timberg, his favorite night of the run. That's Velvet Night. That show took place on a Sunday night and kind of feels like a Sunday morning show.
Yeah.
Even opens with Sunday morning. Although I hadn't even thought about that until now. All right.
Yeah, that show. Those first 2 nights of the Dozen, I re-listened to the Baker's Dozen this past summer just as like a 2-year anniversary to see how it held up. And the first 2 nights are great. They've got some excellent moments like Seven Below, the Moma Dance Jam.
They're great, but they're like typical Fish show great.
Yeah. And then when you get to that Velvet Night and Fish comes out and he's dressed up like
the Pope.
And they're the band is clearly settled in, the crowd is settled in. There's this like palpable sense that we're in this together for the next couple of weekends, and man, such great memories of that run. All right, so we wanted to go over really quickly here 4-song second sets. So this is a 4-song second set, and this is something that's kind of really important to the overall appeal of this show and appeal of a lot of shows like this, and we wanted to just go over why we love 4-song second sets, because it's something that you hear a lot about in the fan base. Fish technically played a 4-song second set on 12/30/19. I would argue that they didn't, but technicalities, they did. They almost played a 4-song second set on September 1st, 2017, but then they snuck a cavern at the end of Hood. Totally unnecessary. Only time I've ever complained about a cavern. But, the idea of a 4-song second set is like this, it's this mythical creature that you're trying to catch, and you're trying to see the band like fully lock in from a jamming standpoint and put themselves in position to walk off stage after like 65 minutes. Done. Fully satisfied. Set type of set you can just press play on and walk away.
Yeah, I mean, when it's done right, it's fluid, mystical in its delivery, and it's kind of like, the furthest thing from a typical Fish 3.0 set that tends to end with like 7-minute Chalk Dust, 5-minute Susie Greenberg, and then life in slow motion, feet are in the clay, and then you run to the bathroom.
Yes. Everything aside from that, yes. So why do we love these?
We like that song. Yeah.
You're talking more?
Yeah.
Yeah. I just can't imagine someone saying there must be something more than this and stopping there. That's just me. But so why do we love 4-song second sets? Well, you got the perfect amount of time without unnecessary fluff or fat. When played right, they're fluid and mystical in their overall delivery. They're kind of the furthest thing from your very typical 3.0 set, which falls off the rails in the fourth quarter, filled with Wilsons, Possums, and Moores. And, I would argue if you love Fish, at some point you've probably fallen hard for certain jams. Now, some Fish fans, understandably so, are not jam heads. They enjoy extended improvisational takes. Kind of that comes with the turf of liking Fish. But some people, it's not, what they're seeking out. They want the fun. They want the scene. They want the vibe of it all. Others are addicted to the jams. I am very much addicted to the jams. Wherever you fall, this idea that the band would walk on stage and play just 4 songs across 60 minutes is at least part of the reason why you follow this weird little band around. It's this notion that they're going to walk on stage, they have no idea what they're going to play, and they end up just playing 4 songs. There's no, typical rock peak. There's no necessary like rock structure to the overall set. The overall focus of the set is just on the groove, the vibe, the ideas. I would say the other reason is that there are so many good ones. Dave, what are some of our noted 4-song second sets that we recommend?
Certainly November 14th, 1997, set 2. November 19th, 97, set 2. And then November 21st, 1997, of course, famous Hampton set. And then one I was at, April 3rd, 1998, set 2 from Nassau Coliseum. My mileage varies a little bit on that one, but I realize that I'm in the minority opinion.
At least you can admit that. I appreciate it.
Yeah.
Going forward, we've got 11/7/98 from UIC Pavilion. There's a slight technicality on this next one. I'm going to make an argument for it. 6/14/2000. As long as you include the Fukuoka Jam #1 with Twist, you have yourself a 4-song second set.
Yeah, I agree with that. You got to do that.
I feel like you do. I think it's mainly there for tracking purposes, but like I'm never not listening to the jam after Twist, and there's enough of a fade segue into it that I'm willing to accept it. 2.0 had a couple, most notably 7/30/2003 from Camden, Twist, Bug, Walls, You Enjoy Myself, I believe it went, or maybe one of those was switched around the back end, but really great second set. And then 6/20/04, 7 Below, Ghost, Twist, You Enjoy Myself, unbelievable second set. The fact that they could still do that in 2.0 is really telling.
Question for you. Would you consider December 30th, 2019 to be a 4-song second set?
Technically speaking, they only played 4 songs, but I think the
way in which
they delivered it, it's not.
Okay.
That's my take on it.
I'll just say nowadays it's kind of like in vogue for other jam bands that aren't Phish to try to make like 4-song sets the norm as opposed to a treat. And I'm not going to name names. Let's just say that none of these bands yet do it as good as Phish does it. Let's just leave it at that. I mean, it's a skill that's learned over time, peaks and valleys, really making it flow. It's not just stretching the equivalent of like 4 sound check jams put together to boring extremes. So there's an art to this.
There is. And I think that,
it's like I get excited when Phish does it, when I like go on to my nugs.net app and see some other bands doing it and people jumping up and down. I say, that's nice.
Well, and I agree with that, because I think part of the notion around the 4-song second set is that it's not just that you jammed and you only played 4 songs within 60 minutes. The fluidity that you noted is really important. And to me, the best Phish second sets in particular, but sometimes the best Phish shows, play out like a fully flowing album. And it's, to me, one of, if not the most important thing that the band can do is walk on stage essentially without a set list in mind, without a producer giving them any sort of feedback, without, you have less than a second to make the right decision, if you will. And sometimes, we will be at Phish shows or we'll be listening to Phish shows, and a song will start and collectively people are like, not really the best call right here. With these sets, it's almost like the song selection doesn't matter, because the fluidity and the ideas around what they're playing are what's really important. And that translates really well to fully flowing albums. So we want to just give you guys a couple perfect, fully flowing albums here that we would kind of match up with excellent, fully flowing set 2s. So I've got 3. Dave's got 3. Tonight's the Night, Crazy Horse. I mean, you put that on, you're not pressing pause. You're not skipping a track. Kid A, Radiohead, unbelievable album all the way through. And then my favorite album of the last 10 years, Lost in the Dream. Press play. I'm not skipping that.
I agree with all those. So I kind of did this off the top of my head this morning. First one, I've got an album from 2003 from a Britpop band I love, the Super Furry Animals. They put out an album called Phantom Power. It's basically a suite. It has like instrumentals that get reprised throughout. It's got a beginning, a middle, and an end. It's one you can certainly put on, meant to be heard start to finish. Let's talk Rush. Maybe my favorite Rush album of all time, Signals from 1982. 8 songs, 4 songs on side A, 4 songs on side B, nothing wasted. Starts with the classic Subdivisions, ends with Countdown, the best song ever about witnessing a space shuttle launch. And the song before Countdown, Losing It, almost kind of feels like Jerry ballad slot during like a Dead show. Finally, bit of an obvious pick, like I said off the top of my head. People tend to forget what a good structured flowing album that Pearl Jam's 10 is. You know, how it's got the introduction that's like the flowing, like the Om introduction. It also, there's the hidden track that ends with that. It's very much a side A, side B album. Side A ends with Jeremy. Side B starts with Oceans. Like for all the radio hits on that album, it actually holds together extremely well. So this is a good segue. We're just going to give you a brief insight onto what we consider to be some of the best long versions of 2001. And certainly I want to kick that off with the version from The Great Went, August 17th, 1997. I was there. That's when they were doing like the spray paint art at the same time. Next one I was at, Hartford, Connecticut, November 26, 1997. That had the start-stop James Brown funk. My God, that was good. What else we got, Brian?
99, we got Memphis, 9/29/99. Excellent second set, excellent show. We featured that 2001 back in like episode 38, 39, I was saying. Same tour, Albany, 10/9/99. Really fantastic long version of 2001. Did that come in? No, Ghost was in set 1 of that show.
Yeah,
2001 and Limb by Limb were set 2. Okay.
Right.
What else we got?
Philadelphia, December 11th, 1999. That is a slow, languid version that gets funky and it gets hazy. That was another one I was at. I can't listen to that tape without envisioning like the huge cloud of smoke that was enveloping the Philly Spectrum during that whole set. And it kind of comes out on the tape.
That show might be the best set list ever put on paper that the band has ever played.
It is. I don't think it's the best show they've ever played. There's some sloppiness in that set, but the set list itself is extremely good. Yeah,
it's one of those shows that I remember first getting into Fish, coming across that tape and just being like, they played a show like this? Like they just played like basically a greatest hit show and just being blown away. And I don't find myself returning to it all that often. I do like The Hood. I love The Ghost, the 2001. There's great moments. But yeah, the set list is just unbelievable. So we wanted to jump into here our next segment. We're going to talk about some other music right now before we jump into the set. We want to thank you guys all again here for hanging out with us. Before we recommend some new records, we want to talk about essential Sunday morning albums. Dave, what do you got for an essential Sunday morning record?
Well, like the Commodores once said, you want to be easy like Sunday morning. So I've got 2 of them. The first one, I've talked about this guy on this album on the podcast before. But I mean, you want essential Sunday morning records. Steve Gunn, Way Out Weather. And that's as Sunday as it gets. It's probably the 7th time I talked about this album on the podcast. You know what? I don't care. Basically, the only purpose of Beyond the Pond is getting all of our listeners to purchase vinyl copies of Steve Gunn's Way Out Weather. I mean, this is the oral equivalent of a cup of coffee in your easy chair at 9:30 on a lazy Sunday. Your kids aren't bothering you. Maybe they're still asleep. Maybe you're reading the paper if that's your thing. But for the sake of variety, I'm also going to talk about the classic jazz record. I'm thinking Oliver Nelson's The Blues and the Abstract Truth, which I believe came out in 1961. I mean, the opener in that album, Stolen Moments, kind of one of the greatest, most languid, instantly memorable standards ever. mean, you got Oliver Nelson's underrated saxophone work. This album's got Freddie Hubbard on trumpet and Eric Dolphy on a variety of reeds. He takes a flute solo on Stolen Moments. Essence of a Sensual Sunday Morning. I mean, that album works equally well on Sunday morning as a Saturday night with a glass of bourbon contemplating your existence. I mean, you can also finally never go wrong with the Jerry Garcia Band on Sunday. I mean, Grateful Dead too with the Jerry Band. Something about 80s, early 90s Jerry Band that makes my Sunday mornings, always.
Yeah, your combo of soul tunes with 17-minute back and forth guitar solos, some sax, some keys, like Jerry's voice all mixed in. It's just unbelievable.
Yeah.
It's really perfect. I love all those selections. To carry on the theme from our first deep dive from last Sunday, I brought my work. This is my Sunday morning record. The Walkman, Lisbon. I just actually received this yesterday on vinyl. I don't know why I hadn't had it for a long, long time. This was my introduction to the band, which was, albeit quite late, comparatively speaking, I will admit. This came out in 2010. I believe the Walkman began releasing records in the early part of the 2000s.
Angela, oh, so good.
I will never tire of your impressions. I stand for this record in the ways that most Walkman fans stand for, like Bows and Arrows and You and Me from 2008. Bows and Arrows, I believe, has The Rat on it, which was kind of their first big hit, if you will. This, I mean, is the album that will forever connect me to their deeply authentic New York aughts sound. They sound very different than most bands in the 2000s playing in New York, but also have this like connection to the National and a lot of other stuff that was happening in New York at the time. The thing that I love about this record is it's basically a stroll through a European city in a spring morning. You got pastry in one hand, coffee in the other hand, scents of fresh flowers, cheese, bread being baked, coffee being made, all kind of drifting through the streets, cigarette smoke here and there. There's nowhere in particular to arrive to, and the day is just being filled with meaning as a result of that. Everything is gorgeous. You get this like breeze because you're so much further north in the world than you are here in the States. But the sky is just like incessantly blue, just beautiful. It's just such a lazy, feel-good record that I put this on at like 8 o'clock in the morning, 11 o'clock in the morning, whatever it may be. It just fits perfectly with where I'm at the time. It's just such a, oh man, I throw this on and I'm just immediately taken to another place with Hamilton Lifehouser and Company.
I can be calendar conscious for a moment. This is being recorded on March 29th, 2020.
Yes.
So 30 years ago, on this date, March 29, 1990, of course, is the famous Grateful Dead show with Branford Marsalis. That, I mean, the whole show is good. The second set is, you want to talk about Sunday morning records? I mean, The Eyes of the World from that show, which was immortalized on the Without a Net live release. They also put out the whole show on vinyl as part of Record Store Day 3 years ago, I think, as Wake Up to Find Out, which I didn't purchase, which I think was a big mistake. But I mean, that album is so, I mean, there's so many good recordings that are in the archive. But you want to talk about Sunday morning music, that Eyes of the World, Estimated, Dark Stars, Sunday Morning as it gets, and one of the most incredible Dead shows of all time. So I listened to it this morning. Everyone listening to this should also do that.
Yeah, it's a really incredible show. And someone said recently that the Dead in 89 and 90 just sounded like an orchestra. There was so much sound.
A MIDI orchestra, yeah.
And that show just perfectly exemplifies it. You got Jack Straw, Bertha, opening duo. Birdsong is unbelievable. Dark Star. The Wheel.
My Red song in there, right? We Can Run.
We Can Run.
We can run, but we can. Yeah.
The man wrote a climate change anthem 30 years
Yeah.
before climate change became any sort of trend that liberals were backing. I full supporter. I absolutely just love how ahead of time the man was.
So
jumping into new albums here. There's still new music being released. However, there are certain release dates that are being backed up. We'll kind of keep you guys posted as as we hear of new records that are coming out or any sort of delays that we're hearing. But for now, there's still records that are emerging, still records that are worth your time. Dave, what do you got for us in terms of a new record you're listening to?
this is an album we kind of gave a preview of a few episodes ago when we talked about the first single, but I'm talking about the album by this band called The Wax Machine, Earth Song of Silence. It's a recent release on the Beyond Beyond is Beyond label. Like I said, we kind of previewed this album a few weeks back because we talked about the first single, Shade, but the whole album itself came out last week, and it goes down really easy. I mean, this would also be a really great Sunday morning record. I mean, if you our listeners love Khruangbin, I know that some of them do. I mean, Wax Machine, despite being British, kind of sound a bit like a Brazilian Khruangbin. I mean, they're heavy on Tropicalia, light funk, jazz, and psychedelia. It's very much indebted to Airto Moreira's early 1970s fusion work on the CTI label, all the stuff which I completely love. Just a very pleasant mid-fi psychedelic record. Actually, was produced by, I think, the frontman for the Japanese psych band Kikagaku Moyo. I might have pronounced that incorrectly. I'm sorry if I did. But yeah, certainly check out Earth Song of Silence by Wax Machine.
Absolutely. It's a fantastic record. I've got a record from a longtime Baltimore folk group, Arboretum. Record is Let It All In. I want to give a shout out to two people. A viewer who is with us right now, John McGar. What's up, John? And thank you. I will say he corrected us. We missed 12/29/98's 2001 very long, gorgeous ambient intro. You are totally right. We are very wrong. We apologize for this, John. Thank you for noting it. But John passed me over this record, and I think Wednesday or Thursday of this last week, and I got around to listening to it by the weekend. And was just blown away. I've listened to it probably 4 or 5 times since. I also want to give a shout out to Grayson Haver Curran, who wrote the album review on Pitchfork for this record. We had Grayson on back in the fall of 2018, I want to say, to chat a bit about. He was on the road at the time, kind of music from the road, as well as his relationships with jam music, as well as metal and whatnot. Really cool conversation. Go back and find that. But he wrote the great review of this record. This is a kaleidoscope record from a folk group. It's got hints of Fleet Foxes mixed with hints of Richard Thompson, kind of English folk psychedelia, hints of krautrock. I mean, you've got a song, the title track, Let It All In, is like 11 minutes. It sounds like Spider's Kid Smoke from Wilco's A Ghost Is Born. This is a record, it's got dream pop fused with psychedelia. It feels to me on initial listen and on the album artwork like the ideal October album. But it also fits this like very current mood of inward exploration while the world is being renewed all around us in a lot of ways. Like spring is out, spring is kind of blooming all around us, but we're all inside and insulated from the world. Really just fits where I'm feeling right now, where kind of the larger thematic feel of the world is right now. It's kind of this timeless quality to it that encourages immersion and repeated listen. And, you know, I find just, you throw it on, you're immediately lulled by like this gorgeous production, the intricate song crafting, and then there emerges kind of like a Ditch Trilogy era solo that just breaks your contemplation, and you're just freaking rock it out as a result of that. So it's a great fusion of sound. Yeah, it's really good, isn't it?
Yeah, no, we can certainly both agree on that one. That's when I did leave my apartment for a half hour yesterday to walk around in a park with nobody around me, I listened to that album, and it momentarily felt good. So yeah, that's an excellent record. Definitely, that's a Beyond the Pond record.
Yeah, I mean that's like an early that joins like John Moreland, and a couple others this year is like I'm going to be listening to that all year long, regardless what the state of the world is, and will most likely be very high on my top albums list at the end of the year. Just loving it so much already.
Anyway, if you've been joining us this morning, thanks a lot. It's great. We appreciate it. I think we're going to be doing this the same time next Sunday as well.
We got time booked. Right. We got time booked.
Sure. We'll see.
So, yeah, what I would say is I'll open the floor to any questions. If anyone has questions, we'll hang out here for a couple of minutes. But if you don't, it's okay. It's okay. We're happy to send you guys on your way to the set. But I just want to give you a couple of reminders here. Our next episode is dropping next Tuesday, April 7th. That will be episode 94. We're very excited about that. We're going to sit down and record that this week. As I noted last week in this setting, we're going to focus a ton on jams over the next couple of months. We have some guests and some special ideas kind of percolating and in the process of being worked through. But we want to focus on jams and tunes for you to get you through this whole period. We'd encourage you all to follow Osiris Media, both here, subscribe to their YouTube page, as well as follow on Instagram, as well as on Twitter. For more live streams, they're coming, as well as shows and special stuff from various podcasts. I know our compatriot Mike Vinoya jumped on here, I think Thursday night this week, Friday night maybe, and did something similar to this. So there's a lot of us who are doing these sort of live streams and trying to engage with you guys as much as possible while everyone's kind of in a weird headspace right now. And like Dave said, our next BTP Live will be Sunday, April 5th. 11 a.m. Eastern. The show is to be announced. We will be figuring that out here over the next couple days, figuring out what we want to focus on. But if you have ideas, if there's a set you want us to focus on that also has a video on YouTube, please don't hesitate to send us a quick message. We'll be happy to look into it and consider it.
Let us know. So, on that note, I think we can probably proceed to the live stream. We'll give him.
Yeah, I'm gonna go ahead here. Fill some time here really quick. I'm just going to go ahead and look this up.
Fill some time. I can do more Hamilton Leithauser impressions.
I'm just going to post the link.
You got enough to be asking a favor. Can't you hear me? I'm bleeding on your door. What else?
Almost there.
Other good Walkman songs. What's the one? I lost you on You and Me. A trumpet and a trombone are letting me down.
All right. I just posted the link here in the comments. I'm going to post it again here on Twitter. We're going to jump on. It is 11:47 a.m. in the Eastern. I think we'll start around noon Eastern. It's about an hour-long set. We'll live tweet it. Feel free to message us. Thank you for everyone for hanging with us. Super fun for us. Hope it was as fun for you guys. And we'll look forward to seeing you guys. Same place, same time.
Same bat channel. Come back at that time. We will go live beyond the pond.
Peace, guys. Be well.